Picture this. You have been drinking green tea every morning for years, and it never tastes like the cup you had in Kyoto. It comes out bitter, it comes out grassy, it goes cold before it gets good. And when you give up, you hand over $8 for a cafe matcha that tastes like sweetened chalk. Japanese households have been quietly solving every one of those problems for generations. A few of these I learned from my grandma, Yuki. Today, we are counting down 30 of them. And by the time we reach number 1, which costs nothing and takes 1 second, your mornings change completely. Let's get into it. Number 30, warm your pot and cups before the tea touches them. You measure the water perfectly and the cup still comes out thin and flat. Fill the pot and cups with hot water, swirl 10 seconds, and dump it right before brewing. Ceramic has real thermal mass, so a cold pot steals 15 or 20 degrees the instant the water lands. Warm it first, and the leaf gets the temperature you actually chose, which is how Japanese tea shops pull the same cup every single time. Number 29, brew with filtered soft water and never with distilled. You buy expensive leaf, brew it correctly, and it still tastes dull and faintly metallic. Run your water through a basic carbon filter, or use a bottled water low in minerals. Calcium and magnesium ions bind with the catechins and flatten the aroma before it reaches your nose, while distilled water has no minerals at all to carry flavor. Japanese tea was refined over centuries around soft mountain water, and hard tap water undoes all of it. Number 28, stop using boiling water. Almost everyone brews green tea like black tea, kettle screaming, and then decides they simply do not like green tea. For a standard sencha, you want 175 degrees, roughly 2 minutes off the boil in an open kettle. Catechins and caffeine dissolve far more readily as water gets hotter, while the sweet amino acids come out at low temperature regardless. Heat does not extract more tea, it extracts a different tea, and there's a good chance you have never tasted this one brewed correctly. Number 27, cool your water by pouring it between vessels instead of waiting. Nobody wants a thermometer at 6 in the morning, so people guess. Pour the boiling water into an empty cup, then a second cup, then the pot. Each transfer sheds about 10 degrees, so 2 pours takes you from boiling into sencha range with no equipment. Pouring spreads the water thin and briefly multiplies its surface area, and evaporation carries the heat away fast. Japan has a dedicated vessel for this called a yuzumashi, and 2 teacups do the same job. Number 26, fix your leaf-to-water ratio before anything else. Most people use a pinch of leaf, get weak tea, and steep longer to compensate, which is exactly how bitterness gets invented. Use 1 rounded teaspoon of loose leaf per 6 ounces of water, about 2 teaspoons for a mug. Strength is governed by ratio, not time, because the sweet amino acids come out early and stop, while catechins keep climbing for as long as the leaf sits wet. More leaf in less time is how Japanese home cooks get richness with no chalky finish. Number 25, time your first steep at 60 seconds and watch an actual clock. Steeping by feel is the most common mistake in an American kitchen, and 30 extra seconds ruins the cup. 1 minute for a standard sencha, then pour immediately and completely. That narrow window exists because the amino acids diffuse out quickly and level off, while the astringent catechins climb steadily the whole time. 60 seconds sits at the peak of the sweetness and just underneath the bitterness, which is why Japanese sellers print the number on the bag. Number 24, if you are drinking deep-steamed fukamushi sencha, cut that time in half. This is the dark, cloudy green one most people buy without knowing it, and a full minute makes it genuinely unpleasant. 30 seconds, not 1 second more. Deep steaming ruptures the cell walls and shatters the leaf into fine particles, and all that surface area extracts roughly twice as fast. My grandma Yuki brewed fukamushi every morning and never timed it because she watched the color of the pour instead, and her way of emptying that pot is number 1. So hang on. Number 23, never stir, poke, or squeeze the leaves while they steep. It feels productive, and every teaspoon stirrer is quietly ruining their own cup. Add the leaf, add the water, close the lid, and leave it completely alone until you pour. Agitation tears open cell walls that were still intact and dumps fine sediment and a burst of catechins into the liquid at once. Squeezing the wet leaves at the end is the worst version, and Japanese restaurants get that bright, clear cup by doing absolutely nothing. Number 22, throw away the tea ball and use a wide basket. A little mesh ball strangles the leaf, so you get weak tea and a wasted spoonful of something expensive. Use a Japanese kyusu with a broad built-in mesh, or any basket wide enough for the leaf to move. Dry green tea expands to several times its volume when it hydrates, and pinned leaves never open, so water only touches the outside of the clump. Japanese kitchens have used wide-bodied pots for centuries because the leaf needs room to unfurl. Number 21, pour into every cup in rotation a little at a time. Serve 3 people 1 full cup at a time, and the first gets pale water while the third gets syrup. Line the cups up, pour a third of each, then come back around, then again. The liquid in the pot gets stronger as the level drops because the last water has sat on the leaf longest and carries the most dissolved compounds. Rotating the pour averages that gradient out, which is how a Japanese host serves 4 identical cups. Number 20, take a second infusion and give it 30 seconds instead of 60. Most Americans use good tea once and bin leaf that still holds 2 excellent cups. Refill the same pot immediately and cut the time in half. The leaf is already hydrated and fully open, so there is no wetting delay and extraction starts instantly and runs much faster. A third works at about 45 seconds with slightly hotter water. Japanese sencha is priced around 3 infusions, and the second is very often the best of them. Number 19, eat the spent leaves. This sounds strange once, and then you realize you have been throwing away most of the plant you paid for. Squeeze them out, dress them with soy sauce and a few drops of rice vinegar, and eat them as a small side dish. Vitamin E, beta-carotene, and fiber are fat-soluble or completely insoluble, so no amount of hot water pulls them into your cup. Japanese households have done this for generations. Stay with me, because number 11 turns tea into something like broth. Number 18, keep your used leaves and use them to kill odors. Your hands smell like garlic, your board smells like fish, and dish soap does not touch it. Rub damp, spent leaves over your hands or the board and rinse, then dry the rest and leave them open in the fridge. Catechins bind directly to volatile amines, including the trimethylamine, responsible for the smell we call fishy. The tea is not covering the odor, it is latching onto the cause, and 1 spoonful now has 3 separate uses. Number 17, pour hot green tea over leftover rice. Cold rice from the fridge is hard and joyless, and the microwave usually makes it worse. Put it in a bowl with a pinch of salt and a scrap of salmon or pickle, then pour 6 ounces of hot tea over the top. Heat and moisture partially reverse starch retrogradation, the process that hardened the grains, while catechins bind fats and proteins and cut straight through richness. This is ochazuke. It takes 90 seconds, and it is one of the most comforting things in the Japanese repertoire. Number 16, rinse your mouth with cold green tea. Morning breath is bacterial, and mouthwash mostly perfumes over it for 20 minutes. Brew a small pot, cool it completely, keep it in the fridge, and swish a mouthful for 30 seconds. Catechins have real antibacterial activity against the oral bacteria that break down proteins, and those bacteria produce the volatile sulfur compounds that actually cause the smell. You are suppressing the organisms, not masking them, and it is the cheapest possible use for that third infusion. Number 15, matcha and gyokuro are among the highest caffeine teas you can drink, not the lowest. There is a stubborn American belief that green tea is the gentle option, and if you drink matcha at 9 at night, this matters. Both are shade-grown for 2 to 3 weeks, and shading pushes the plant to make more theanine and more caffeine. With matcha, you then grind that leaf and swallow all of it rather than infusing it. A serious bowl rivals a shot of espresso, so drink it before noon on purpose. Number 14, do not drink green tea with an iron-rich breakfast. Spinach, beans, tofu, or fortified cereal washed down with tea means you are working against yourself. Leave about an hour between the meal and the cup and drink water with the food instead. Tannins chelate non-heme iron, binding the plant-based iron in your gut into a complex your body cannot absorb, and the effect is large enough to matter. Every wellness blog says drink tea with breakfast. I told my grandma, Yuki, her waiting rule was superstition, and I have since apologized. Number 13, this is why tea alertness feels nothing like coffee alertness. Coffee gives you the spike, the 10 a.m. crash, and the low anxiety underneath. Drink your tea and pay attention over the next 2 hours. Green tea contains theanine, an amino acid that crosses the blood-brain barrier and raises alpha band activity, the state associated with relaxed, wakeful focus. It does not cancel the caffeine, it runs alongside it and takes the jagged edge off. This one compound is why Japanese offices and monasteries have run on tea for 1,000 years. Number 12. Cold brew. Your green tea overnight and forget it exists. Iced tea, brewed hot and poured over ice, is always bitter and slightly cloudy, so most people buy bottled instead. Put 1 tablespoon of leaf into 4 cups of cold water, leave it in the fridge before bed, and strain after 8 hours. Caffeine and catechins are dramatically less soluble at refrigerator temperature, while the sweet amino acids diffuse out slowly regardless. You extract the good half of the leaf and leave the harsh half behind, which is how Japanese families drink it all summer. Number 11. Take that idea to its extreme with ice brewing. If you want to taste what expensive Japanese tea is actually about, this is the demonstration. Put 2 teaspoons of good sencha in a small cup, pile ice cubes directly on the dry leaf, cover it, and walk away for 40 minutes. Meltwater sits at freezing and extracts almost nothing but amino acids, leaving nearly all the caffeine and catechins locked inside. You get a tablespoon of thick, savory liquid called koradashi. Number 3 is about to save you $8 a day. Number 10, switch to hojicha after 4 in the afternoon. Plenty of people want something warm in the evening and gave up on tea because it keeps them awake. Hojicha is standard green tea roasted at around 350 degrees, and it brews happily with fully boiling water, so it is the easiest tea here. Roasting drives the Maillard reaction, creating that toasty, almost caramel aroma, while degrading most of the catechins and driving off a meaningful amount of caffeine. Japanese families serve it to children and grandparents in the evening for exactly that reason. Number 9, keep matcha on hand for days your stomach is unhappy. Strong tea on an empty stomach makes a lot of people genuinely queasy, and the usual advice is to skip it entirely. Matcha is green tea blended half and half with toasted brown rice, brewed at 175 degrees for 30 seconds. The rice contributes pyrazines from its own Maillard browning, that warm popcorn aroma, and it displaces half the leaf, so every cup carries far less caffeine. It began as a way to stretch expensive tea and survived because it tastes better. Number 8, buy your tea by harvest date and chase the first flush. American shelves are full of green tea with no date printed anywhere, which usually means 2 years in a warehouse. Look for a harvest year, buy the current one, and if you find sencha shipping in late spring, buy it immediately. From the moment the leaf is finished, aromatic volatiles evaporate, chlorophyll degrades under light, and catechins slowly oxidize, and none of that reverses. A fresh $12 bag beats a stale $30 one every single time. Number 7, store it airtight and cold, and let the tin warm up before opening. Half the people who buy good tea keep it in a clear jar on a sunny counter, undoing the purchase in 6 weeks. Use an opaque airtight container, refrigerate anything beyond a month's supply, and set it out 20 minutes before you open it. Oxygen and light break down chlorophyll and aromatics, but opening a cold tin pulls warm, humid air onto freezing dry leaf and condenses water straight onto it. Japanese sellers are fanatical about both halves. Number 6. Never store tea loose in the fridge or beside your spices. You bought fresh leaf, sealed it properly, and it still tastes faintly of onions. Keep it away from the spice rack, away from coffee, and never open in the refrigerator. Dried leaf is extremely porous and hygroscopic, so it actively absorbs moisture and airborne odor molecules from everything nearby, which is the exact property that made it a deodorizer back at number 18. The trick that saves your cutting board destroys your tea, so give the tin its own shelf. Number 5, sift your matcha before a drop of water touches it. You whisk, and little green pellets still bob on the surface. So you blame the powder. Push it through a fine mesh strainer with the back of a spoon, about 15 seconds for 2 servings. Matcha particles are only a few microns across, small enough that static charge and surface attraction pull them into tight clumps that whisking cannot open. A whisk moves clumps around, a sieve destroys them, and Japanese tea houses sift every single serving. Number 4, soak your bamboo whisk in hot water first and whisk from the wrist. People buy the whisk, snap 3 tines off in a week, and produce a flat bowl with no foam. Rest the whisk head in hot water for 2 minutes, then whisk briskly in a W shape just off the bottom of the bowl. Soaking rehydrates the dried bamboo so the tines flex instead of snapping. The foam itself comes from saponins naturally in the leaf, genuine surfactants that only build a stable head under fast aeration. Number 3, if you're making a latte, build a paste before the milk goes near it. This is the $8 cafe drink, and this is how you stop paying for it. Sift the matcha, add 1 tablespoon of water at 175 degrees, whisk it into a glossy paste with no lumps at all, and only then pour the milk. Reverse the order and you can never fix it, because milk fat and casein coat the water-repelling particle surfaces and seal every clump shut. Water wets, matcha, milk essentially cannot. Number 2, brew gyokuro at 140 degrees for 2 full minutes and taste what tea can do. A specialty tea room charges $12 for 1 small cup, and it will taste like savory broth rather than tea. Use a heavy hand of leaf, water barely warmer than a bath, and 2 patient minutes. Gyokuro is shaded 3 weeks before harvest, which suppresses catechins and concentrates L-theanine, a close chemical relative of glutamate, the compound behind umami. Water that cool takes the amino acids and leaves the bitterness in the leaf. Number 1, empty the pot. Every last drop, every single time. This is the smallest gesture here. It takes 1 second, and it decides whether your second cup is wonderful or ruined. Pour past the point where you think the pot is empty, shake out the final drops, and lift the lid so the steam escapes. Those last drops are the most concentrated liquid in the pot, and anything left sits against hot leaf and keeps extracting, stewing the next infusion before it starts. My grandma Yuki never told me why. She just moved my hand and said, "Do it this way," and she was right. There you have it. 30 Japanese green tea secrets, and you do not need all 30 tomorrow. Pick 4 this week. Warm your pot, drop your water to 175 degrees, time your first steep at 60 seconds, and empty that pot to the last drop. No cost, and your morning cup will be dramatically better by Thursday. A few of these came from my grandma Yuki, who never explained a single one of them, and who would be quietly pleased they are in your kitchen now. Drop a comment and tell me the one thing your grandmother did in the kitchen that you never understood until later. And subscribe for more deep dives like this one.